What is going on there, guys? CG Gaming here, and today we're going to be looking at some news that Bungie released late on the 24th of May and some interesting changes to exotic armor pieces that are coming our way in the next update, which is labeled 1.2.1, along with Bungie talking about the community's feedback on Escalation Protocol. Now, this week Iron Banner has returned, which I went over in my last video, so I hope you've all been grinding out those tokens to hunt down the new weapons and the rank 35 ship. It's a bit of a lengthy grind, so you've got to weigh up if you think that the ship is worth it. I'm going to aim for it, but I'm not going to break my back trying to get it, so we will see just how it goes over the weekend. To start the news off, Bungie have responded to the community's feedback on Escalation Protocol and have done it in a Q&A format. The first question asks, what were the design goals for Escalation Protocol? Bungie responded with, Escalation Protocol was designed to be a high difficulty endgame activity for a max level 3-player fire team. Other players in the world can contribute to make it easier, but they shouldn't be required as long as your team is highly skilled and coordinated. We have received a lot of feedback since the original launch of Destiny 2, but players felt like reaching max power was not satisfying. There weren't enough activities that required and rewarded that level of commitment, and Escalation Protocol was designed to fill that gap. Now, I do agree with what they're saying here. Escalation Protocol was designed for endgame once you're at max light level, so you can grind it for those specific loot that it gives. So right now, especially when Warmind was first released, we were just simply under leveled, and trying to tackle it just seemed impossible. Now that we're a few weeks into the new DLC, our light levels are a lot higher, and it's turning from impossible to being possible to complete. I'm sure that once you have a fire team of 3 people at 385 light, that the event will seem a lot more possible to complete without the need for 9 people. I'm currently at 360 light level myself, so I can't actually test this yet, but can anyone who's got to max light already shed some light on this? No pun intended. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on it now that you're at the level it was intended to play at. So the next question is, so this activity was not specifically designed for 9 players? And they responded with the following. Other than raid activities, all PvE activities and private spaces are optimized for 3 players to allow for multiple types of activities in the space. So no, it wasn't designed for it, but it's not a surprise that it's easier with 9 players. Given how underleveled most of us are right now, we knew that players would use the same creative workarounds to get 9 players into a space similar to Court of Oryx, but we did not specifically tune the difficulty around requiring that many players. Now, one thing that they could have done from the start was create a normal and a prestige mode to this event. Normal mode would have still been quite tough, but something that we could have all tackled as a fire team of 3 at a much lower light level, and something that would have helped our progressions. They could have kept a separate loot table for it, or even a new milestone for it that you could turn in for a powerful engram if you completed all 7 levels that week. Then the prestige mode would have been something that you had to tackle at 385 with a fire team of 3 for the loot specific drops. And the last question that was asked, any plans to enable larger fire teams in the future? Bungie replied with, we've had a lot of conversations here about what to do to answer the community's feedback. We're going to continue to monitor as more players progress to max power and are able to attempt Escalation Protocol at the difficulty it was designed for, and would determine what, if any, action is necessary. We also hear that players are really enjoying large groups of players fighting against enemies, so we'll use that feedback to inform our future plans. I personally think that they should have put Escalation Protocol in a completely standalone area, just like what Prison of Elders was in. This way they could have tackled these issues earlier on and just made it an event on the solar system map that you could jump into matchmaking and team up with other people, which actually would have been an easier way for them to implement bigger fire teams. Due to how it was implemented, there's a lot of toxic people on Mars at the moment. As soon as you jump into the instance where there's a team trying to get a fire team of 9 together for it, they've been asking players to leave or invite their friends and then leave. I guess this would have been okay if people had common courtesy when asking, but a lot of people on the forums have been complaining about how rude other players have been getting, telling them to F off and leave the instance, which just isn't okay. So that's what Bungie are currently saying on Escalation Protocol at the moment. They haven't really given a straight answer as of yet, but it does seem that they're waiting for more feedback once people hit max light level to then be able to judge the situation and tweak what needs to be tweaked if needed at all. Now, next we've got some exciting exotic armor changes in this update. Bungie have already drastically changed some exotic weapons, so now it's time to see what they're going to do about the exotic armor. They're updating 6 exotic armor pieces with the release of patch 1.2.1, 2 for each subclass, and they will be updating more in the future. Now let's kick things off with my favorite class, the Hunter. Now, the changes that we're going to go through are the Dragon's Shadow, the exotic body piece. The mechanical changes are dodging reloads all weapons simultaneously. The effects of Wrath Metal Mail now also includes a bonus to mobility. And what they said is, although the Dragon's Shadow does have a small following, we wanted to make it more useful in a general sense under even more neutral conditions while keeping in the theme of a fast-moving ninja. Now, this is quite a positive change for the exotic. The original was originally good in PvP if you loved a fast-moving, twitchy kind of playstyle, but like they said, it wasn't an exotic that was used that often. With this change, it has the potential to be used in PvE, also for certain boss encounters or some general PvE situations where before it wasn't really widely used in that side of the game, just more in PvP actions. Next, we've got the Machineer's Trick Sleeves. The mechanical change in this was swapping to a sidearm while critically wounded greatly increases its damage. And what they said is, we went for the fantasy of a holdout weapon, the pistol tucked into your sleeve that you pull out in an emergency to save you. These changes should let you turn around a fight more easily. I do really like the approach that they've taken here. The fact that they took the cosmetic look of the gear piece into account when changing its mechanics is pretty damn cool. Before, this perk would just basically increase the sidearm ready and reload speed, but now it has the potential to do extra damage if critically wounded. They haven't stated how much extra damage, so when the update comes around, we'll have to do some testing. If it's a decent increase, then I can see this exotic being used a lot more. And now we move on to the Titan. Now, the first piece, I'm terrible at pronouncing, but I think it's called Syntheseps. The mechanical changes. Previously, the perk adjusted your melee damage depending on the number of enemies surrounding you. Now it grants a flat bonus to melee and super damage when you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies. The buff is retained for a short duration after you no longer surrounded. Although Syntheseps has gotten a fair bit of love in the Crucible, players are often focused on the increased lunge rate. The outgoing damage bonus was hard to appreciate and plan around with it being so variable in nature. With this change, you will be able to feel the impact more often in all scenarios, particularly in PvE. Another great improvement here, although they haven't stated if they're taking the increased lunge rate away or not. We'll have to see once the update drops, but if they haven't, then it's just all improvements for this piece. It's another one that was used widely in PvP and now has some more potential in PvE. Next, we've got Lion Rampant. Mechanical changes. You can hip fire while lift is active without interrupting it, and your aerial hip fire doesn't have an aerial accuracy penalty. The Lion Rampant was focused around lift and how it impacts your playstyle and tactics, so we decided to push further in that direction, emphasizing fast movement aerial assault. This could be extremely OP in the Crucible. Another one that I'm really interested in trying out. It looks like it literally does what it says on the tin. You'll have your improved aerial movements like before, but the added bonus of being able to hip fire without interrupting the lift. Excited to see this one in action for sure. And last but not least, we move on to the Warlock. Now, the first one are boots. We've got the Lunafaction boots. Mechanical changes. Rift reload is automatic instead of being activated on entry and exit. Empowering rifts make weapons more effective at extended ranges. Players having to dip in and out of the rift to reload their weapons was not consistent with other rift effects, particularly with the overshield effect on healing rift. It's been made automatic to be easier to understand and to use, and as this is more of an offensive choice in terms of rift exotics, we also wanted to further reward players who want to double down with empowering rift instead of playing it safe with a healing rift. Now, these changes to these boots is extremely OP, especially when you're going up against Callus in the Leviathan raid. Having the rift automatically reload your weapons without having to dip in and out of the rift means less downtime between shots, which means more DPS all across the board. I'm also looking forward to seeing this perk in PvP, as we've all faced that situation where you're in a 1v1 gunfight and the enemy has a smidge of health left and you run out of bullets. If you have this rift underneath you, then say goodbye to that reload action and your enemy's health. And now for the last piece that they've made changes to, it's the Sun Braces. Mechanical changes are the original effect replaced with increases the duration of solar grenades. Solar melee kills grant unlimited solar grenade energy for a brief time. While effective under some circumstances in terms of things like flat damage output with your solar grenade, Sun Braces didn't feel flashy enough for gloves where your hands are perpetually on fire. So while retaining the original flavor of the solar grenade exotic armor, we've scaled up the potential output significantly to give the player a strong taste of power on a more frequent basis. Now, if what they say is true, these could be the new meta. We all know how strong a Warlock solar grenade is, and then put that together with a short duration of unlimited solar grenades is just damn right tasty. Depending how long Bungie class a brief time as, you could dish out a fair few solar grenades in that time to easily wipe out another team in the Crucible if they're pretty close together, or output massive amounts of damage to boss encounters in PvE. I think that I'm going to be looking forward to these the most out of all the exotic changes. Now, like I said before, all these changes are coming our way in the 1.2.1 update, which is coming next reset day, Tuesday the 29th of May, and they have stated that there is no downtime to be expected. The behind the scenes maintenance will begin at 9 AM PDT, which will be 5 PM in the UK. And then at this time, the update 1.2.1 will be available to download and install. And the Destiny 2 server maintenance is scheduled to conclude at 1 PM PDT and 9 PM UK time. If players haven't updated by that time, then they will be removed from activities to begin the download and install process. Now, for this patch, they have released a quick overview of the issues that should be resolved in the update, which is the following. Fix an issue where players could lose a glory rank points for leaving a match too soon after the match ends. Fix an issue where the clan XP milestone was not granting a powerful reward. Fix an issue where Vanguard boons would block progression on strike-specific quest steps and milestones. Fix an issue where Shriekers would close too quickly during the Warsat public events, thus blocking players' ability to trigger a heroic public event. Fix an issue where Callus's shields require too much damage to break after Destiny update 1.2.0. Fix an issue where players would experience long loading times for Iron Banner matches on PC. I hope that you guys found this information and my opinion helpful. If you did, then please like the video, and if you're new to the channel, then scroll down to that subscribe button and give it a big old Titan smash to see more Destiny 2 content coming up. That's it from me today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will see you all in the next video.